What is this? He groaned. Hungover and confused. I just placed the laptop on the bed. This, I said, my voice cold as ice. Is you cheating on me with every girl at the party? The shock on his face was priceless as he watched his own betrayal. Filmed by him. So this all went down a few years back. But it's one of those stories that's so bizarre it's basically seared into my brain. At the time, my boyfriend and I had been together for almost 4 years. We lived together. We had a life together. Or so I thought. The end of that year was probably the most intense, high-stakes period of my entire life. I had just started a new job in the mental health field, specifically working in suicide prevention. It was my first time in that line of work, and the emotional weight of it was a lot. I'd come home completely drained, feeling like I had the world on my shoulders. On top of that, I was in the final stretch of my master's thesis, just before the holidays. My supervisor sat me down and essentially told me that if I wanted to graduate on time, I had a month to complete what was basically 80% of the entire project. I remember just staring at her, my brain doing the math. It wasn't a suggestion. It was an ultimatum. The panic set in immediately. For the next few weeks, my life became a blur of 18-hour workdays fueled by caffeine and pure anxiety. I'd finish my emotionally taxing day job, come home, and immediately open my laptop to write until 2 or 3 in the morning. I was drowning, and my boyfriend was standing on the shore, tapping his foot and looking at his watch. He just didn't get it. It tried to explain the pressure, the sheer impossibility of what I was facing, and he'd just sigh. Are you still doing that? He'd ask, gesturing at my laptop like it was some hobby I was overindulging in. My stress wasn't something he wanted to help me with. It was an inconvenience messing up his social schedule. It became clear he didn't see my struggle as our problem, but as my problem that was getting in his way. This all came to a head on New Year's Eve. His friends were throwing a huge party, and he was insistent that we go. I tried to explain. I literally cannot take a night off. I'll fall so far behind I'll never catch up. He wasn't hearing it. It wasn't a discussion. It was a demand. The argument started building. And honestly, I just didn't have the energy for a full-blown fight. I was too damn tired. So, I made a deal with him. A compromise I thought was perfectly reasonable. Okay. Look, I said. I'll come. I will come to the party with you. But I can't drink. I need to keep a clear head. And I'm leaving at 11 p.m. Max. I have to be up at 5 a.m. to write. He agreed. But with this tight, thin-lipped smile that I should have recognized as a red flag. I thought I was being a good, supportive girlfriend by stretching my already frayed sanity to its breaking point just to make an appearance for him. I figured if I just showed up, he'd be happy and I could get back to the mountain of work waiting for me. I saw it as a temporary solution to keep the peace. What I didn't realize was that he didn't see a compromise at all. He saw it as a betrayal. And instead of talking to me about it, he had already decided how he was going to get his revenge. Has anyone else ever walked into a situation thinking you'd found a fair middle ground, only to find out the other person had already packed a grenade? We got to the party, and the vibe shift was instant. The music was so loud the floor was vibrating, and people were already 3 sheets to the wind. I grabbed a bottle of water and found a spot on a couch, trying my best to look like I was having a good time. He, on the other hand, made a beeline for the kitchen. I watched as he bypassed the beer and went straight for the tequila someone had brought. He poured a shot, slammed it back, and immediately poured another. There was no casual drinking, no easing into the night. It was a mission. This wasn't him just trying to have fun. It was a deliberate act of defiance against the deal we'd just made not an hour earlier. For a while, I just watched him. He became the party's chaotic center, getting louder, sloppier. At one point, I saw him disappear onto the back porch with a group of guys. When he came back inside, his eyes had that hazy, unfocused glaze. The smell of weed followed him like a cloud. My stomach tightened. Then, a little later, I saw him huddled in a corner with some guy I'd never seen before. It was fast, but I saw it clear as day. A quick bump of something white off a key. My brain tried to process it. Is that cocaine? He's never done cocaine in his life. This was no longer just a guy blowing off steam. This was a full speed, no brakes implosion. And he was strapping a GoPro to his head to document the whole thing. Had gotten it for Christmas and had been wearing it everywhere like a total dork. I'm capturing the memories. Babe. He slurred at me from across the room. I just stared back. And the little red recording light on the device seemed to mock me. Then I saw him approach a girl I vaguely knew from one of his friend groups. He leaned in, all clumsy charm and alcohol on his breath, and started talking to her. He was laughing, pointing the camera right in her face. Then he leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't a quick peck. It was a full-on, sloppy, drunk makeout session. Right in the middle of the living room. My first thought wasn't even anger. It was pure, unadulterated shock. What is happening? Is this a joke? I looked around, expecting someone else to react, to say something. A few people gave them a wide berth. Some guys laughed and high-fived him. No one looked at me. My feet felt nailed to the floor. My goal of just slipping out unnoticed was gone. How could I? My dilemma became instantly, painfully clear. Do I launch myself across the room and cause a scene that will be talked about for years? Or do I just turn and walk out, letting him completely humiliate me without a fight? Before I could even decide, it got worse. He finished with her, gave her a pat on the back like he'd just won a prize, and then his eyes scanned the room. He spotted another girl, one of my friend's younger sisters, and stumbled over to her. He started the exact same routine, the same stupid laugh, the same pointing of the camera, the same lean in. That's when the horror really landed. It wasn't a one-time, drunken mistake. It was a project. He was going person to person, systematically, trying to hook up with every single girl at the party. All while a camera on his forehead recorded my 4-year relationship, burning to the ground from a first-person perspective. What do you even do in that moment? When the person you love is not only betraying you but is gleefully producing the evidence. I didn't run out of the party. I didn't scream. I just turned around and walked out. The Arctic blast of the January air felt like a slap in the face, shocking my system out of its paralysis. I didn't take a cab. I walked the 2 miles home in silence, the sound of the party fading behind me. My mind was eerily quiet. There was no internal debate, no frantic questioning. It was like watching a building get demolished. You see the charges go off. You see the structure start to crumble. And you know there's no putting it back together. You just watch it fall. By the time I put my key in our apartment door, I wasn't a girlfriend anymore. I was just a roommate waiting for a lease to end. I slept on the couch. He stumbled in around 4 a.m., crashing into a table and then collapsing into our bed without even checking to see if I was there. The next morning, he was a wreck, groaning on the bed, clutching his head. The entire apartment smelled like a distillery. And there, sitting on the coffee table next to a half-eaten pizza, was the GoPro. The little red light was off. My heart started pounding. My first instinct was to just throw it against the wall. My second, much colder instinct, was to secure the evidence. I quietly took the camera, pulled out the memory card, and slipped it into my laptop. My hands were shaking. What am I doing? Do I really need to see this? The answer was yes. I needed to know the full, unvarnished truth. I needed to see exactly what he had done, without his drunken, gaslighting apologies to filter it. I put on my headphones and pressed play. It was nauseating. The footage was shaky, the audio a distorted mess of music and his own slurred shouting. I watched through his eyes as he took the cocaine. I saw the girl he kissed first, her initial surprise turning into discomfort. Then I saw him move to the next girl. And the next. It was exactly as I had seen. But worse. On the video, I could hear his pathetic pickup lines, his attempts to pull them closer. And I saw something I hadn't seen at the party. Rejection. A lot of it. I watched him try to lead one girl toward the back bedroom, only for her to firmly pull her arm away and shake her head before walking off. I saw another girl literally push him off her when he tried to kiss her. The camera jerked around as he stumbled back. Rejected. After watching about 20 minutes of this pathetic, desperate tour of humiliation, I had seen enough. The rage had burned away, replaced by a cold, hard certainty. I took off the headphones, walked into the bedroom, and nudged him until he groaned and sat up. What? He mumbled, shielding his eyes from the light. I didn't say a word. I just walked back out, got my laptop, and put it on the bed in front of him. I hit play. The sound of the party filled the dead silent room. He stared at the screen. Confused. What is this? This is you. I said. My voice flat. I watched his face change as the first makeout session appeared on screen. The color drained from his skin. He saw himself get rejected by the next girl. He saw himself doing the cocaine. He saw everything. He couldn't lie. He couldn't deny it. He couldn't even spin it. He was seeing his own betrayal from a first-person perspective. He finally looked up at me. His eyes wide with a pathetic, self-inflicted horror. It was then I realized the truth. His goal wasn't just to hook up with people. It was to create a spectacle so huge and so undeniable that it would completely destroy us. He didn't just cheat. He produced, directed, and starred in the movie of our breakup. So, Reddit. I ended it right there. Of course. But years later, I'm still stuck on the why. How do you even begin to process a betrayal that was also a performance? How do you move on when someone you loved decided to not just leave you, but to burn down your entire life and film himself holding the match?